The story of the Green Bay Packers and Vince Lombardi is legendary. Together, they built a football dynasty. But the true essence of the Green Bay Packers cannot be measured on the scoreboard or in the record books. For they are a group of men whose lives transcend the sport of football. After 35 years, these men, whose lives have been defined by pride, love, and Lombardi, have gathered together for an unprecedented reunion to celebrate the unique bond they share and the love and the laughter they still share today.
If ever there was a perfect moment in my life, this picture captured it. Victory after Super Bowl II, Coach Lombardi's complete approval, the emotion flowing between the two of us. I played most of my life for his approval, and at that moment I had it. It was a wonderful moment. You know, he's a difficult man to play for, and I've been asked so many times what he was like and to try to explain Coach Lombardi. He's the kind of man that could see a gap between what you were and what you could become. And he felt that it was his God-given responsibility to close that gap. So he made us aware of the gap. He made us aware of what we could become, of how much farther we could grow and how much farther we could go. And he also gave us a start on closing the gap, sometimes with a kind word, a pat on the shoulder, sometimes with a not-so-kind word or a kick in the pants. But in one way or another, he got us started on closing the gap. He didn't tell us that it was a never-ending journey, that we would be spending the rest of our life trying to close the gap, but he got us started on that journey. It was such a wonderful thing to be a part of that team, not only the coach and the victories and the Super Bowls and all of that, but the guys, the Hornings, the McGees, the Stars, the Fuzzies, the Robbies, the Herbies, the Woods, on and on and on. We had a great reunion in 1984. Dick Schaap and I wrote about it in Distant Replay, and we vowed that we would do it again. We didn't think it would take 17 years for us to get it together again, but we did have the biggest and the best Packer reunion ever.
Never have so many players from Vince Lombardi's 9 Packer teams been together. For 10 years, they built a legacy. They turned plays drawn with chalk into legend. 105 men closed the gap between what could be and what was. The Packers were without a winning season for 11 years. Future Hall of Famers like Bart Starr and Ray Nitschke were considered to be mediocre at best. Many of those same players, led by first-time head coach Vince Lombardi, made a journey that defined personal and professional excellence. From a one-win team in 1958 to 5-time champions, Lombardi's Packers became the standard to which all football teams are measured.
Vincent Thomas Lombardi got his first head coaching job at the age of 47 here in Green Bay. Coached for 9 years. What an incredible impact one man had on a team, a state, a nation in a short period of time. So it's fitting and proper that we have our first night of our reunion here in these surroundings that reflect Vince Lombardi's life. Vince Jr. emptied his attic and his garage, and you see it all around the room, his parents' life, his parents' mementos. It was a wonderful series of memories, emotions, moments to remember. We expected it to be a magical night, to share that bond once more, and it was.
How are you? I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, why did we uncover you?
I see him all the time. He's all over the joint.
Hello, my star.
Talking to you so much, I'm gonna throw a hug. What is this,
You played what, 60, what year were you here? 67, 68, yeah.
I dislike quarterbacks when I was playing defense, but I hated tight ends.
You're just lucky I retired early.
Well, close family.
A room full of personalities, teammates, friends, heroes, all together. A special gathering. Among the laughs, smiles, and hugs, old acquaintances are renewed, former glories relived, fans of each other, friends with each other. This is the camaraderie of love and respect. Along with the remember whens, among the hellos and how are yous, there were endless stories. How could there not be with my old friend and sports writer Dick Schaap on hand? He had to remind Max that he didn't always catch the big ones.
A few years after the Super Bowl, we're standing in a bar in New York City, me and my wife, Max and his wife, and my wife faints. And she faints right in front of Max, and he reaches out, and she went right through his arms. He didn't even bobble her.
I don't know what was happening here. All it was Marvin. This is Max.
Marv Fleming, how are you?
How are you?
This is Mr. Bratkaski.
If you listen closely in a bar room alive with conversation, you might just learn a few things. Junior Coffee shares a few secrets with Willie Davis and Claudius James.
You know, life is too short. You just go and have fun. Plus, I lived in misery the whole training camp. Man, I never unpacked. I didn't figure I was going to make the team.
That was really interesting.
I really didn't. I didn't think I'd never unpacked.
I was never the most old I am. I don't know why. I was old when I was here. That's why.
I'll tell you what, you do look great.
The guys can say anything they want to, but you got to start with Vince Lombardi. Vince had control. He followed me around everywhere.
Amazing what a few years can do. Things can be said now that would have been hard to say before.
Red, how you doing?
Football coaches like Red Cochran, Bill Austin, Norb Hecker are no longer required to be leaders. Now they're just one of the gang, free to express their admiration for the stars they guided to greatness.
Jimmy, I was fortunate to coach in the league for about 22 years. You're still the best fullback I ever saw. And that's the truth. That's the truth.
Just keep
Some of the players became coaches themselves. The green and gold followed Lou Carpenter around the league to teams wanting a taste of Packer glory. Let's listen in.
When I was coaching at St. Louis, Holloway grabbed me one day and said, "Come here," he said, "I want to talk to you about players." I said, "Okay, coach." I said, what about players?" He said, "I want to get the same kind of guys in Green Bay that played and won the championship." He said, "God-fearing guys, religious guys, everything else. Those are the kind of guys I want on my team." And I looked at him, I said, "Coach," I said, "I'd love to have the same kind of guys." I said, "But I think you got them all pegged wrong."
Somebody the other night said, the one man.
No. They were saying this. He's diagram over here and he's checking Vince.
Lou Carpenter's probably right. We were a fun bunch and still are. Dr. Feelgood, Paul, Dave Robinson with the camera,
That means I got half a lineman.
and the ultimate jokester, Ron Kramer.
Look in the mirror sometimes, don't know myself. At least you got hair.
Time does reveal all truth. And for us, the ultimate truth is our bond, player to player. Relationships as unique as our talents. Special seems too common a word for what Bart Starr and Jim Ringo share.
Oh my God, Bart. What a bonus. Oh my God. This is great to see you. How you been?
Bart, right now, I'll tell you, my heart is beating 9 million
So
miles
is
an hour.
mine. Someone said, I was back over there, they said, have you seen Jim Ringo? And I said, no. I know everybody's thrilled. We don't see enough of it. This was one special center.
One special quarterback.
Never had another one like you.
Well, thank you. It was a joy to play with him. It really was. He was a neat man. Come on.
Great moments, and close calls. Funny how near catastrophe can become comedy as the years pass. There weren't many laughs in '65 when Don Chandler kicked us to a playoff win against the Baltimore Colts.
I think that field goal was good. I don't care what they say.
The guy's hands went up, didn't they? Lombardi told me never to do that. I couldn't help it. I catch the ball and ain't nobody coming. I said, what am I going to do? So I ran for 45 yards.
Yeah, and I was down there running down to cover it, and there's the ball. I'm looking around, and all of a sudden I'm looking, you're right behind.
Max always had a knack for coming out on top. But the most important Packer play may have been made by assistant coach Norb Hecker. He made sure linebacker Ray Nitschke kept his spot on a team headed to a championship, despite some trouble with Coach Lombardi.
Nitschke's at the bar. We walk by Nitschke, and we go to a back booth. We sit down, and Vince has got his back to Nitschke, and Phil and I are on the other side. And we're sitting there in this place where they got the peanuts, you know, and all that on the floor and the bowl. And a gal comes back with 3 drinks. And Vince right away says, "Who the hell ordered these drinks?" And she said, "The guy at the bar. He crunches a bunch of peanuts that made peanut butter."
I
Get out of here.
saw him walk out. So we
walked out, and he walked by Nitschke and he says, "Mister, you're all done. You're out of here. You're fired. Turn the uniform in. You're not with this team anymore." And he kept walking down the street. And Phil and I were like little puppy dogs behind him. "Coach, we need him. We got a championship game. We don't have any linebacker."
Dennis is hurt.
Yeah, we got no linebacker. He says, "He's out of here. Go away." So he finally says, "Okay, let the team vote on it."
Yeah.
The team votes on it. Phil and I, we got it made, right?
As far as I'm concerned, it's gone. But if you guys
That's
want
right.
it, yeah.
So we voted him out. You voted him in. We won the game, got the championship, won the championship.
The other side of that is they called for the vote, and it was going to be one of these. And Dylan says, "Let's make a secret ballot." We're in there.
We laughed. Coaches stayed up all damn night long checking on the hornets. The next day they were so damn tired they wore us out.
Kenny Bowman, Dick Himes, Claudius James, and Carroll Dale found a corner for a discussion of the Green Bay power game.
We ran the ball primarily, and we ran it so well that everybody came sucking up to the line, and as soon as Bart got them all up to the defensive line, he'd send one of you guys deep and float the ball out there. But I think if we'd have passed the ball first, you guys would have been in camp.
Every decision he made was for the betterment of the team.
After a few cocktails and many tall tales,
Oh, he was tough. He was mean.
We stared at each other down.
it was time to call it a night. As close to perfect as a reunion gets.
Okay, let's have prayer for you. Okay, Jimmy.
I think the coach would have approved. What a wonderful night at Lombardi's Steakhouse. It's like being back in the locker room, surrounded by Lombardi, Coach Lombardi. Pictures, his mementos, his life, so many emotions, so many feelings came tumbling back. So many things I had never seen before, never been a part of. His personal trophies, some of his playbooks from the New York Giants, so many things that represented his life. It was wonderful to spend a little time with Dick Schaap and Vince Lombardi Jr. touring the steakhouse and reliving some of those memories. You know, for me, this is like almost like coming home. I feel so comfortable in here, and I look at virtually every picture on the wall, and I was there. I was part of that. I remember when he did this, and I remember when the coach did that, and I remember when we did this, and it's really a wonderful feeling to be back here again and feel like it's maybe it's happening all over again. You're still living it. You're still in the middle of it.
That thing behind you, Jerry, that goes back to when Vince was really a junior. I mean, 1956.
And I've got a whole briefcase full of these. Nothing on Packers, but a lot of Giant stuff for some reason. Why that season and whatever was there, I can't tell you. But I got a briefcase of his old game plans. A lot of them have programs and those flip charts.
When did you first start realizing that your father wasn't like all the other fathers on the block?
Yeah, that's a good, I've thought about that. You know, when I was a kid, of course, my dad was a high school football coach. I mean, not that big a deal. Went to West Point, great experience, but still I don't know, just didn't seem to be all that unusual. Well, when he went to New York and the Giants all of a sudden were pretty big, just maybe before pro football really hit its stride. But the Giants in New York were getting pretty big. All of a sudden began to dawn on me that this is different. My old man's not the same as a lot of other old mans. So, yeah.
Are these good plays? I mean, Jerry, I don't understand any of this stuff. Will they work? Will they still work?
That depends upon the execution, Dick. Everything looks good on the paper, but it depends upon the individuals executing the individual plays. And you know what really was one of the great things about him is that he prepared you. He made sure you were committed, you were disciplined, you had the determination, you had all these things. But all of that without belief doesn't work.
Well, speaking of belief, there's that picture back there of Vince lifting. Now, you cannot see the ends of the bar, so you don't have any idea. He may be lifting 5 pounds, but he can make you believe it's 1,000.
Actually, this is isometric. Remember
Oh,
back
yes,
then,
I remember.
isometric was really popular and big, and that's what I
Jimmy
think
Taylor
that's probably,
was very much
Jimmy
into
was very
isometric,
much in it.
yeah.
I think probably that's the first or second or the last time he ever did that. So I think strictly for the shot, if I remember correctly.
None of us were real big in the weight room.
No, not in those days.
We spent about 15 minutes on the isometric, isotonic ropes and things, and okay, let's get out of here. There's Bill Austin, my line coach, giving us a little wisdom at halftime or before the game. Mr. Gregg. Here's our free agent from Southern Cal.
Yeah, could he jump or what?
Could he jump? Look at that.
Now, Willie was what, about 5'11"?
Yep.
5'10", 5'11".
I bet he could dunk.
Yeah, I bet he could dunk too.
He could hit the crossbar with his elbow.
Ben, there's 1,000 pictures in here of Pop. Have you got a favorite?
The one where he's in profile with his chin in his hand, and you got the ring on. I think that would be my favorite picture if I had one.
Come over here and look at this picture. This is one of my favorite shots. The Lombardi Drive has been replaced by Horning Drive. Now read that inscription, Vince. Read what it said.
Coach thought you would get a laugh at the remembrance of my last visit to Green Bay. Paul Horning, P.S. McGee had a hard time holding me up there after curfew. All right, I got it. Yeah, sure.
Now that's
great.
Classic,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
McGee and Horning and I, and your pop played out of Oneida. And of course, he and I played McGee and Horning. And he wasn't the least competitive on the golf course.
I'll tell you, when there was money on the line, his game went up a notch.
Yeah, we were playing on about the 16th hole, just kind of a dogleg left along the river, and I hit my ball down in the brush. And I'm down looking for it, and he says, "Come on, that's enough, let's go." Okay, coach. And I started to leave. Oh, I found it. Well, hit it. And I took a swipe at it, and I was in the brush and it's tough, and I knocked it about 6 feet. That's enough, pick it up.
And I bet you picked it up.
Yes, sir.
He was a fanatic golfer, just loved the game, as you know. When my folks went to Washington with the Redskins, they became good friends with Ethel Kennedy. And this is a letter that Ethel Kennedy, it's an actual letter, and then I guess typed up so you can read her writing, after my dad passed away.
Speculate for a moment about what might have been. Were there any political aspirations? Were there any thoughts of that neighborhood after football, or do you think he was strictly a football
I think he was flattered that people would be interested in him as a politician, as a CEO of a medium to a large company. But I think in his heart of hearts, he knew his limitations. I think he felt that football was his venue, and I doubt he would have. He would have strayed outside of it. Really
but he was ecumenical. He had both Democratic and Republican friends.
Yeah. Well, my mom was my mom was a diehard Republican. Oh, they had fights. Oh, I can remember one time we had a low coffee table. She's up on the coffee table, just giving him all kinds of grief. Oh, it was interesting.
He was a a big deal in Washington too, wasn't he? I remember people saying that when he walked into the room, everybody in the room turned and would look at him or turn and applaud, and even in the midst of the Kennedys and some of the biggest politicians in the world, he was still quite a big deal, wasn't he?
Well, you know, it was during a time of a little bit of turmoil in this country. Vietnam was starting to kick up, and some other things, and I think that a lot of our leaders lost confidence in themselves. And as a consequence, we as citizens maybe lost a little confidence in them. And here's a guy from Wisconsin now coming over to Washington, D.C., who's got a pretty good record and is not afraid to talk about commitment and discipline and leadership and those types of things, other people that other leaders were maybe shying away from. And not only was he, again, talking about it, but he had a record to back it up. So I think, you know, we struck a chord in Washington where, you know, they were happy to have somebody who would step up and say those kind of things, because it didn't seem like anybody else wanted to talk about those kind of things.
One of the great things about the Super Bowl ring that I wear from Super Bowl II is the fact that Coach Lombardi helped design the ring. Not only the 3 diamonds being symbolic of 3 consecutive championships, but on one side of the ring, the chevron that says challenge. And I'll never forget that meeting. The first night of this first day, we had probably an hour-and-a-half meeting. And he spent that whole meeting on the challenge that lie ahead. This was to be our 3rd consecutive title, and it would be by far the most difficult title that we would ever attain. And here's what we had to do to attain that title. The other side of the ring, it says run to win. And down in Milwaukee, we're playing the Los Angeles Rams, and they'd beaten us a couple weeks before and had a pretty good football team. And he takes something from the Bible, from St. Paul's epistle, and makes it into a locker room speech. And to paraphrase it, he says, of all the runners who run in the race, only one can win. So we run not just to be in the race, we run to win. He really liked first place. He did not like second place, but do you remember those hinky-dinky balls played by hinky-dinky teams?
That's right, that's what he called them.
And he felt that the AFL was a hinky-dinky league.
Well, yeah.
To a certain degree.
That's kind of what he said, regretted saying it, but that's what he said. But
and that's why he wanted to win that so badly.
This was the first one, and I can remember in the Coliseum, and I know you guys felt you were, you know, but I felt the tension. I've never been in a locker room, I felt anyway, that was as tight and as tense as that, mainly because of the unknown. You didn't know how good or bad the Chiefs were, and there was so much pressure. But gee, there was I felt you could cut it. I've never been in a locker room that was that tight.
I think Coach felt that. I remember Frank Gifford saying that he was a little nervous about doing the interview. He was working the game. And he knew it was a big game. He was a little nervous, but he thought everything was under control, and he was going to interview Coach, and he puts his hand on his shoulder, and the coach is shaking. Yeah. Coach is just shaking. He's so nervous. That's right. Gift said about killed him, but now he knows how nervous Coach Lombardi is.
Well, he probably stopped shaking by the time he posed.
Yeah, isn't this it?
Yeah, he's feeling pretty good by then, I think. This Commissioner Rozelle, you can just see him a little bit, and yeah, I think he's pretty pleased by now.
Your father and I weren't always on the best of terms. We was going around the room one time wanting to know how many people were coming to Thanksgiving Day dinner. And he had just chewed me unmercifully that morning. So he goes to Starr, 4, Horning, 1, McGee, 1, Kramer, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know if I'm coming. You're coming. 4. So we had our moments like that, right? And here, in this picture, he loves me.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and I love him.
Yeah.
I came to appreciate him. It took some time for him to get through my thick skull. It took some time for me to get my own motor started and have my own quest for excellence, my own quest for perfection. But once I did, then he began to pat me on the back and approve and carry me even further. So it was just such a wonderful moment, and that 3rd championship, to share that moment with him, yeah, that's a great shot.
Yeah, it is.
Lombardi could get what he wanted out of the guys. There's something about his personality and his way of valuing people. He knew when he had somebody that was great and could be better. There's, I think Horning said when they inducted him in the Hall of Fame, at that time there were about 7 or 8 guys in the Hall of Fame, and he said 2 of them could have made it on their own, and the other 5 or 6 of us made it because we played for Lombardi, and Lombardi made us winners.
Lombardi was very special because people don't know this part. He had a heart of gold. He was so soft-hearted that he had to hide behind it. I knew Vince real well, and several times I told him, Vince, you're a big phony. You come out and bark and yell and holler at those kids.
Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody tackling. Just grabbing, everybody. Grab, grab, grab. Nobody tackling.
He says to me, don't tell Marie. She doesn't even know.
He was honest, extremely honest, and had the strong faith of the church. I know he went to church every day of his life. I don't think a lot of people knew him that well or understood him. They knew he had a great desire to win. I think one of Lombardi's thing is if he had an idea, he was a good salesman.
Show them how and why. You have to get them to be a part of it. They have to understand. If they understand, they'll do it, and do it the right way.
In football, you have to be, if you design something up, you got to be a salesman. I'm going to sell that to the players. If you do it my way, this way, and so forth, I think that was why he was a good coach.
The difference between Shula and Lombardi was, and I'll put it on film, Lombardi was a coach of life, where Don Shula was a great football coach. I mean, even my life is, my life today, I lived the Lombardi rules. It was just unbelievable.
It's a great honor to play for not only Coach Lombardi, but for Coach Landry, who was a wonderful man, fine Christian man, and probably knew more football than anyone I've ever been around, including Coach Lombardi. A lot of times when I speak to different organizations, I'm asked the question, compare Coach Lombardi and Coach Landry. And my answer is well thought out is this. They're both wonderful people. They're both great football coaches. If they played in 10 Super Bowls with comparable players, Coach Lombardi would win all 10 of them. Motivation.
Go out there and play this ball game like I know you can play it.
Before some games, he would go around to every player and laugh and smile and joke and pat him on the back. Another game, he might kick a chair down and scream and holler.
You're not going to get your job back unless we get a better performance.
Regardless of what mood he was in or what personality he chose to have, he had the ability just at the right moment, just as it appeared he was looking at everybody individually. And it was quiet as it could possibly be. And he would say, gentlemen, never guys, boys, gentlemen. You're the greatest football team that's ever been assembled in the history of the National Football League. And he made us believe that.
Packers have come back magnificently here in the second half. Takes, hands off to Taylor, again the holes in the middle, and Taylor moves the ball up. Ball is just nosing up to the 24-yard line. They'll be about a yard short of that first.
Lambeau Field, hallowed ground for me and for my teammates, and probably for anyone who has ever stepped on the field. We're at the 1-yard line in the south end zone, the scene of the Ice Bowl sneak, one of the great moments in my life. A lot of changes now, a lot of new construction, new seating, but you know, the field will never change. The 100 yards that we owned from end zone to end zone, sideline to sideline, where we fought our battles, where we had our great victories and our sour defeats, will never change. They will live in our memories forever. So it was only fitting and proper that we came back to Lambeau Field and relived some of those memories. A bus ride to the stadium, something we'd done many times. This one was a lot more fun. Coach Hecker and Captain Skowronski. Fuzzy and Ringo, Fuzz says all the guys he used to block were about like that.
We're just so proud to be here, be part of it. It was something that not many people get the opportunity to share in life.
Dave Robinson and Claudius James. Andy Severco. Such a wonderful moment to step in here and hear that noise and see that other team on the field, right? Your heart just absolutely came out of your body. Some of the guys aren't moving as well as they used to.
It's great to be back. You remember a lot of fine memories here. My heart's beating. It tells it all. Great memories of great people. I can remember when we first went out in the old stadium, my high school stadium was bigger than that.
First time Jim Ringo had been back for many years. These guys never did get to throw the ball in a game. Goldilocks is moving a little slower than he used to. Bobo and I explained how the Ice Bowl really happened.
It was a great call, and Jerry and Ken Bowman made two great blocks.
We were out of timeouts, and this was the last play, virtually. There's some, you can speculate as to whether you might have been able to get a field goal off or not. Maybe the team, maybe they could, but 13, 15, 16 seconds, pretty tough.
He called a 31 wedge, which was Mercine gets the ball.
The fullback. Mercine was charging up there and thought he was going to get the ball, and so he actually hit Bart in the back. And you'll see, Chuck.
He's like this because he wants to make it real clear he's not pushing him in the end zone.
Yeah.
Because what we didn't want to do is
get a penalty.
Right. When you guys got up to the line of scrimmage, and you were lining up, I looked up in the stands. I just did not. Watch? If this was going to be the end, in a sense, I didn't want to see it. And I remember that when you look up in the stands, you always somebody pops out at you. And I'm looking at this one guy, and he's frozen. Literally, I hate it. But boy, all at once he went up like a rocket, and this whole stadium went up. I knew. I said, all right.
That's the way you saw the score? You didn't see the play?
I did not see the actual live play until later that night on television. That's what I never watched the play on the field. I don't know. It's just the last minute.
You couldn't watch?
No, couldn't watch. The last minute, I just turned and looked up in the stands.
This is the first time you ever confessed that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And then we found some time to reenact the Ice Bowl. Come in here.
Who's this guy?
I'm not, he's an imposter. Coach Bill Austin was there, getting a hug from Bart.
All the coaches down here.
In the original play, Chuck Mercine was supposed to get the ball, but Bart decided to keep it at the last moment. Chuck Mercine finally gets to score, and he's surprised.
He was bobbing the ball. Set 350. 350. Hut.
Hold my jacket, will you?
All right, let's get on.
Set. 238. 238. Hut.
Hey.
Touchdown. One more touchdown in Lambeau Field. One more chance to remember.
Oh, that was perfect. That was perfect.
When we reenacted the Ice Bowl sneak, it was natural for Bart Starr to step in a quarterback. It was just as natural for Zeke Butkowski to stand on the sidelines and watch. something Zeke did for a number of years here. An exceptional quarterback with a lot of talent. He was a backup to Bart Starr for a number of years. The essence of our team, the sacrifice that we made for each other, is personified in the relationship of Zeke Batkowski and Bart Starr. Bart Starr, Zeke Batkowski, one of the closest relationships on the team in perhaps the most difficult situation. Both played the same position. Both were good, very, very good. Zeke backed up Bart without a hint of discontent or frustration. A remarkable relationship that lasted a lifetime.
When you relive the experiences you went through, the study of the film, the taking of the notes, the sharing of the notes, the times that we spent together as a family when we were out at dinner on a Friday night with a fish fry in Green Bay and then went to a movie with our children, and on, vacations that we took with one another. Those are difficult times to duplicate, and we were fortunate to share those moments with Zeke and me, and it's a time that we will always treasure, and we continue to today.
You see how polite and what a great gentleman he is, and I've never seen him be unkind to anybody. But you put him in the fourth down in one situation, he'll cut your heart out and show it to you. And that's Bart Starr.
It was in my sophomore year at the University of Alabama as we were preparing to play Georgia. And I had seen and heard a great deal about him, but I didn't realize that he was a punter. Now, I was a punter, and that year ended. He was #1 in the nation in punting, and I was #2. This man here is a better passer than I was, and I mean that. But I worked very hard. When I didn't play in a blue-gray game in my hometown of Montgomery, Alabama, I cried for the first time in my life. I didn't get a chance to play on offense. And I rededicated myself then that I was going to make it in pro football somehow, somewhere. So I just worked my duff off to get there. But I've always believed that you lead better by example than by any other way. And so I was quiet and reserved. But down inside, just like this gentleman, we have a very strong fire.
Zeke Batkowski drops back to pass, but suddenly changes his mind. He catches the defense going the other way and makes it across for the score.
I was renting a home from a ex-Ram who was playing with the Vikings, and he called me and he said, "Did you hear you've been traded to Green Bay?" And I said, "No, the Rams didn't tell me." And then I got a call and they said, "You've been traded to Green Bay." And Bart had broken his hand the week before against the Cardinals. We were 1-6 with the Rams, and the Packers were 6-1. And so it didn't take long for me to pack my suitcase.
Batkowski replaced an injured Bart Starr and engineered the Packers' final game-winning drive in the first of the 3 encounters with the Baltimore Colts.
I don't know to this day how Coach Lombardi pulled off a trade at that time of the year. I thought we were past the trading deadline, but anyway, they were able to do it. So we were thrilled to have him there with the Packers. There was a bonding, there was just a great feeling from that very first meeting, and I really picked up on the astuteness of this gentleman and the feel that he had for the game, and he didn't know our system or anything about it, but we were looking at the opponent, of course, but his comments and questions and so forth were such that I could see right now that we were going to enjoy being with one another.
Geez, if we don't throw, we got to throw at least 10 or 12, 15 flies in this ball game. So we're going to use the 4 pass for this there.
He was extremely sound fundamentally in the mechanics of the position of quarterback as well. I learned so much from him in our first practice session, just watching his footwork, watching his movement with his upper body and so forth, his follow through on a pass, things like that, which I didn't have, and not to the degree that he did. And so this was a fundamentalist standing in front of me every day on the field and in those sessions taking notes and watching film that I learned a great deal from.
I learned really the system through him by watching him and how regimented he was as to the approach of each play. You know, it was like Coach Lombardi taught, don't you be wrong, make me wrong. So Bart was really into that portion of it extremely well because he would methodically take his reads and it was just like 1, 2, 3 and it never changed, never deviated, which is really important for quarterbacks to be in that way. I mean, don't ad lib unless you have to. And the big thing is Coach Lombardi was an excellent teacher. We both know that what he did and how he approached it, and it would be to make this note, you know, and it was telling you, you better write that down. And so you learned to take notes by what he said. So the preparation between the two of us, we were taking the same notes.
He had so simplified the system, and it was so refreshing the way he taught. He was fundamentally strong and sound, excellent teacher. He demanded, by the way, that his assistants be excellent teachers in the classroom and on the field. But this was a man that we had then in front of us for 9 years, seeking to be the very best that he could be in his role. And if you don't think that's a great role model, it is unbelievable.
The responsibility playing quarterback on those teams was tremendous because there was a great team and the leadership had to be as such to where the performance never changed for either one. So there was no jealousy, competition. There was no 1 and 2. We were just 2 quarterbacks preparing ourselves to play.
We had a great personal relationship, and we had the interest of the team was #1. And so we were willing to do and to make the efforts that were necessary to keep that in place. Prime example of what Zeke is just talking about is when I was injured in the 1965 game, championship game against the Colts, he steps in, we don't miss a beat. Because of that preparation, because of his commitment, and because of that team's confidence in him, we just went continue the game and won it.
I think one of the things of being a so-called backup quarterback, that in preparing myself as if I was going to be the starter and then not playing was the most difficult part of it. Not to even get dirty or get hit. And then the post game was the most difficult. You know, I know after Bart was talking about that game, we beat the Colts in one of the sudden death games. Well, we played the championship game against Cleveland the next week, and Bart played the whole game. I played one play, and I said, Coach, just let me get in there and get my hands dirty from the ball to have said I played in the championship game. But I had to learn a lot about myself then.
I've always regretted something that I did not do, and that's when Zeke and I were coaching together at Green Bay, and I've told him this before, but they wanted to make a change in our offensive staff, and it would require me to change Zeke and go to someone else. And I should have had the guts at the time to step up to the management and say, no, I'm not going to do this. There's nothing wrong with this. And I didn't, and I always had a guilt feeling about not having done that. And he forgave me for that. He just said, don't worry about it, dismissed it, and it didn't damage our relationship, which I was grateful for because it was my error and I should have just not gone along with the other approach. I think the greatest thing I can say about this gentleman is that he is the finest person I've ever known. But this gentleman is truly special. You'd have to know him to appreciate him. He's something else.
Being friends, you know, one of the definitions I feel as a friend, if you don't see him for a year, after 5 minutes, it's like we've been together forever.
It's that kind of bonding that Zeke has been referring to that I think has been truly special. He and his wife are like brother and sister, and it's tough to explain to anyone how much we love them.
Playing with Bart Starr, you know, they talk about a lot of great quarterbacks, you know. I've only played with a couple. Bart Starr, to me, is the best, by all means, because in playing with Bart would see everybody. If you look at the charts, it wouldn't be one guy catching all the passes. It'll be the guy that was open. And playing with Bart Starr, you always knew that if you were going to be open, you were going to get the ball.
Marv Fleming is on the receiving end of this Bart Starr touchdown toss.
Players, you know, Bob Skoronsky, Jerry Kramer, Jimmy Ringo, Fuzzy Thurston, Emlyn Tennell, Jimmy Taylor, these guys they really all kind of took me under their wing. And their wives, you know, were all looking for someone to marry me off to, and it was like a big family.
Ray Nitschke was a great athlete and an outstanding athlete, great physical ability. So I don't think Ray really knew how good he could be.
Elijah Pitts was one to reinforce me on confidence, having confidence, being on the sideline, being on special teams. That was my contribution at that time. And I remember us playing a couple of teams where the teams would get ahead of us and they'd start marching. And I'd be standing beside Elijah, and he said, just relax, relax. I see you getting all nervous. We're not going to lose this game. He said, when they get to the 20-yard line, they'll start losing ground. He said, then we'll go score. Just relax. I gained confidence through Elijah by observing and listening to him and seeing it actually come to truth.
So many memories on the field and all around Green Bay. Coach Lombardi and so many of the players who aren't with us any longer. Nitch and Henry Jordan, Urban Henry, Lionel, Elijah. Wonderful memories, wonderful moments. We'd like to take a look now at some of the special Lombardi Packers who are no longer with us.
When I think back on these times and the dreams we left behind, I'll be glad 'cause I was blessed to get to have you in my life. When I look back on these days, I look and see your face. You were right there for me. Everywhere I am.
Elijah Pitts from Philander Smith. I'm sure you've never heard of that school. Elijah came to Green Bay, and he was such an excitable young guy. He had those big eyes and that big smile and wonderful personality. I remember running a sweep with him one time, and he got out in front of me. And I said, Elijah, I can't outrun you, but I can block for you. If you'll slow down just a little bit and let me get in front of you, I can help you. Okay, Jerry, okay. And the next time he'd do the same thing. So about 3 years later, he finally learned to slow down and let the guards help him. But he had a wonderful personality, and he was just a great kid. A few years ago, when we lost Elijah Pitts, Bart and Willie Davis and Bob Skronsky and Fuzzy started thinking about forming a Lombardi Legends charity. Elijah was kind of a sophomore, kind of one of the younger guys, and they realized, of course, if Elijah could go, then any of us could go at any time. They wanted to establish a permanent charity to remember the Lombardi Legends. And the events that were part of this reunion were part of that effort to raise funds for the Lombardi Legends charity. Raising money was the objective. And in the old days, when we used to think about raising money, we used to think about playing poker. Or at least Horningham McGee used to think about playing poker when they needed to raise a few bucks. So we thought it'd be fun to have another game, sit around the table and tell some of those old war stories and relive those wonderful moments. The object was to raise money for the charity, and 100% of the proceeds went to the charity. But the competitive nature began to surface towards the end of the game. The old poker gang all showed up for this fundraising game, as if time had stopped. Everyone in rare form and competitive as ever. Only this time we were each staked by a different sponsor, with all the money going to charity. Doug Hart represented Roundy's, Robbie and I played for Potawatomi, Ski represented Johnsonville, Jesse Packer Fan Tours, and Max and Fuzzy were playing for Miller Lite. And as always, Max was trying to control the game.
5-card draw, jacks are better, pot limit. I wanted to start with something easy for Fuzzy and Jesse. Oh, you're a I fold that. He's got kings and nines. All blue, boys, all blue. Fuzzy gets eight.
One, three, four, five.
Another deuce.
Another five.
Whoa! 7.
7.
Oh, I win. All right. My low is a wheel. My high is a flush. Whoa! All right. I declare this party about over.
Hey. One of the things I have observed it's been a lot of cheating here. I mean, it's been a ton of cheating here. All of you have been cheating, and for that reason, there will be one declared winner here today.
And that winner was the Lombardi Legends charity.
What we used to do is we'd have a gathering, and I've always felt that if you're a part of a team, you're a part of a team. And there was a group of men who played poker, and I have played cards in my history time, and so I decided I wanted to be a part of it. So when we'd go on trips, we'd have games in the rooms and play a little poker among ourselves, and then we'd go out and have dinner. So for some reason around the team, they named us Our Gang, because everywhere we went, every team when we went out of town, we'd play this game. So the attachment started with us identifying with the Little Rascals. And Jerry Kramer, he was real stocky and strong and built, so he was regarded as Spanky. So that, naturally they had to have a name for me, and that was Buckwheat, because he was the only Afro-American in the game. So now I get traded to Atlanta, and Jerry, they come down, Green Bay comes down to play us, and he yells over, "Hey, Buckwheat." And I says, "Look, Jerry," I walked over to him, I said, "You know, we're in Atlanta now, and that stigma just doesn't go over as well. I think you better let that slide and leave it in Green Bay."
Green Bay Packer fans, the greatest fans in the world. Of course everyone feels that way, but ours really are the greatest fans in the world. My last game here, we were playing Baltimore, needed 2 scores with about 3.5 minutes to go. Got the ball, started moving down the field, got across midfield, fumbled the ball, knew that the game was over, knew that the season was over, knew that the era was over. As we come off the field, I look up in the stands and there's a standing ovation that takes about 5 minutes. And I'm confused at first, and then I go, oh, they know, they understand. They're saying thank you for the memories, thank you for the era. So how could we come back to Green Bay and not have some time to interact with the fans? Therefore, the reunion bash. Felt good to see fans young and old gather in downtown Green Bay to support our charity. A reunion bash had a little bit of everything. It offered up some of the traditional Green Bay party food prepared on the Johnsonville Big Taste Grill by some legendary chefs who you might recognize. I think my brats are probably sell.
Oh, mine are the prettiest ones here. I know mine are the prettiest ones here. My brats are pretty.
Look how slow he cooks.
Really? You got the ugliest looking brats, Willie.
Boy, Willie, they're still frozen. Come on, man.
These are brats in waiting.
Yeah.
Well, I figure you have to eat one of these to know whether you've done a good job.
Absolutely.
You did a good job of that one, Jay.
We'll fix you up.
After serving up some brats, my teammates and I took some time to meet and greet the fans. What a great time.
Nice to see you, Marv. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Couldn't see this anywhere else in the country except Green Bay. This is not just a football team, this is our family. And when they're here in town, we take them into our hearts and they treat them like family. And you won't find that anyplace else but in Green Bay.
And we could really feel that sense of family when we took the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Kramer, Matt Sweeney, Bart Stark.
You know, there's probably no place in the NFL that this kind of event could be as successful. And as I look out there, I would say to you, you have brought confirmation to that today. Believe me, we love you. You gave us a lot of love. You're the greatest fans in the world.
I hope you accept this as our way of saying thank you for so many great years. I had the chance to raise my family here in Green Bay. So have many other players. It's a great town to raise a family. It's a great town to play football.
What I'd like to do right now is call up all the individuals that played on the 60 team that are in the Hall of Fame in Canton. I'd like for you guys to come up. You know, I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I played with Jimmy Brown in Cleveland, and I played against Jimmy Brown here at Green Bay. We never lost to Cleveland. And one of the reasons we never lost to Cleveland, because Jimmy Taylor never had a bad football game. No question in my mind, pound for pound, one of the greatest runners that's ever been in the National Football League. Jimmy, good to have you back here. One of the other persons we haven't mentioned, but clearly is probably the reason all of us are here, was our great coach, Lombardi. And I want you to know that no one knew Coach Lombardi better than Max McGee because all the conversations they had about him missing curfew. And of course, the guy to my right here, Fuzzy Thurston. I remember Fuzzy, we were out in San Francisco and we just won a division. And I remember you start singing, he's got the whole world in his hands. You want to sing that a little bit now?
We used to sing this song about Coach Lombardi. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the greatest defensive end, Willie Davis, in his hands. He's got Willie.
But you also said he had the greatest guard. And in the first Super Bowl, there was no one that had a greater game, and I absolutely mean no one had a greater game than Max McGee.
For the condition I was in, I agree with you. Thank all of you guys. I mean, it's great to be back. You know, I've spent my whole life with the Packers, and seeing people like you, it always makes it worthwhile. For 20 years of broadcasting, 14 years with the Packers, and boy, I tell you one thing, it's been a lot of fun. So thanks for coming out. You've got a lot of great people up here, and they're the reasons that you're here, because Vince Lombardi's name will be around forever. And if Fuzzy could talk, he'd probably tell you that, but
I wouldn't feel right if we didn't bring our leader, our quarterback, our #1 man, Bart Starr, up here to say a few words.
Claudius, James, would you stand just for a moment, please? A gentleman, as you can see, when he was introduced, is in a tough battle right now. When I saw him last night, gave him a hug, I could see the tears in his eyes as those were in mine. This is the kind of love, mister, that goes throughout this team, regardless of who played, what they played, and for how long. This is a very, very special group of men here. I just want you to know that we appreciate you making the effort to come. You are the greatest fans in the world. You have been, you continue to be. We love you for that, and the Packers are going to win it all this year. Thank you very much.
There's a rich tradition with Packer fans that have been going on for years and years and years. In fact, on any given home game, you'll find fans here from all over the world. Since the beginning of the Green Bay Packer franchise, there has been an incredible and unique bond between the town and the team. Their support and excitement validated our victories. They were always there.
The Packer fans, often described as the most avid in the world, are numbering almost 6,000 or 7,000 now, and as yet the plane has yet to hover into sight.
Good evening, I'm Bob Hoole out here at Austin's Travel Field, the most memorable occasion tonight, where people are still celebrating just before the Green Bay Packers alight to see their hero. You know, an awful lot of people fail to understand why we in the Green Bay area feel the way we do about our Packers. everywhere in Packerland, and of course Packerland today includes not only the state of Wisconsin, but this entire nation, because there are Packer fans from coast to coast.
Football fans came from everywhere to visit the place called Titletown and to see the Green Bay Packers. Over the decades, more and more fans from around the globe have made the pilgrimage to be a part of the Packer experience. Once a Packer fan, always a Packer fan. It's a way of life that has spanned decades, connected generations, and knows no boundaries.
We've been bringing in Packer fans from all over the world since 1986 to enjoy the Lambeau Field experience. The appeal for the Green Bay Packers worldwide still amazes me today. We've had fans from Japan, Australia, Germany, all 50 states. And they don't come just to watch a football game, but to enjoy the entire Packer experience.
What exactly is the Packer experience? It's New Year's Eve and Mardi Gras and homecoming all rolled into one outrageous celebration. The tradition is intoxicating and unparalleled, a once-in-a-lifetime experience that people from all over the world come to share.
I came all the way from Hamburg in Germany to see the Packers game.
All the way from Northern Kentucky.
My name's Alicia, and I'm from Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I'm a Packer fan.
Rhode Island, Jamestown, North Dakota. We come from Moosoc, Connecticut to watch the Packers.
First time.
Muscatine, Iowa.
We're celebrating our 25th anniversary.
Tampa, Florida.
Richmond, Virginia.
From Orlando, Florida.
We're here to see the Packers win. Go Pack!
I'm from Hemel Hempstead, just outside London.
Just married.
A 5th straight year coming.
I love green and gold.
Lucky we got married on Friday. Some people go to Israel, some people go to Puerto Rico. We come to Green Bay on our honeymoon.
Came from Southington, Connecticut. We're here to watch the Packers kick butt, and it's been a lifelong dream.
Go Pack, go!
They call myself Packerman.
God bless the USA and go Packers.
The Packer experience is all about fun, friendship, pride, love, qualities that made Coach Vince Lombardi's Packers special, and qualities that make the fans special.
Paul Hornick, Jim Taylor, Max McGee, all those guys. We saw Fuzzy Thurston last night over at his restaurant. These are guys I grew up with and admired and followed when I was his age. And I told him by the time he was 14, I'd get him to Lambeau Field, and here we are. Go Packers, go!
There's nothing like Green Bay. You know, the 5 years I was here, the people are so nice. They're so friendly. I mean, even if they don't know I was a backup player. You know, they don't know most of them don't know I'm a Green Bay Packer, but they're just so friendly and so nice, and they support you. You know, we'd 67 we lost a couple of teams, and you know that you feel kind of like, boy, we got to do better. And the people, they didn't turn against you. They didn't say, oh, losers. You know, they didn't. They're neat people. The whole town is just. It's unbelievable how much support the Green Bay Packers get.
I can actually say I enjoy playing football here, and you end up eventually having a bond with the whole city as well as the whole state. You know, you get a lot of support from everybody, not only in Green Bay but everybody from Wisconsin, and you know, you feel a sense of joy about that, and you want to be part of it.
A couple of young ladies here say they're Packer fans, and let's find out their names first of all.
Judy Van Duren.
And what's your
Diane Boncher.
And what do you girls think about the Packers this year?
Oh, I think they're terrific.
And you?
I think they are too. I think they're going to be a real great team.
It was a real great experience playing here in this town. Great fans, great cheese, great sausage, great beer. Great experience. It's just I'll carry the experiences with me in my grave.
Fuzzy Thurston, my pal, my playing mate. Fuzzy and I were the offensive guards for the Green Bay Packers for about 9 years. Fuzzy used to have a standard line at banquets. He'd stand in front of the crowd and he'd say, there are 2 reasons the Green Bay Packers are world champions. Jerry Kramer's one of them, and you were looking at the other. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of great times. And the 1984 reunion, we spent a lot of time at Fuzzy's place. That reunion brought back a lot of memories, a lot of warm feelings. I remember Fuzz running out on the field a lot faster than he should have probably. Looked like he was going to trip and roll out on the field. Herb Adderley turned around and did a little dance, a little soft shoe backwards. Nitch jumped up in Robbie's arms on the sidelines, and we were all hugging and remembering and loving and just enjoying it. Let me take you back to that 1984 reunion. Fuzzy's was the site for our reunion of the Super Bowl I team. My friend, adopted Packer and brilliant journalist Dick Schaap was also there. He brought with him his inquisitive nature, wit, and his cameras. We captured the reunion for a book and TV special called Distant Replay. This is Dick Schaap's recap of our 1984 reunion as it appeared in the Distant Replay special.
The 66 Packers came back to Green Bay in the fall of 1984. Back to Lombardi Avenue, back to Lambeau Field, back to the city sometimes called the football capital of the world and sometimes the toilet paper capital of the world. A city relatively small and isolated that helped force upon the Packers the camaraderie and closeness that, nurtured by victory, grew into love. Fuzzy Thurston, more than anyone else, organized the first formal reunion of the Super Bowl I champions, and 29 of the 40 players showed up. The highlight of the reunion was when the 1966 Green Bay Packers returned to the playing field. One by one, the men who won Super Bowl I raced onto the field at Green Bay. Some at a leisurely pace, some at a lively pace, to wear the green and gold one more time, to hear the cheers once again, to smile, to laugh, to slap an opposing player one more time, to pose for pictures, to clown, to kibitz.
I got drafted. My wife asked me, said, where is Green Bay? I said, I don't know. I had to get a map up to find out where it was.
I did too.
To recapture youth, to regret age. To cheer, to remember and remember and remember. To remember what was best of all, not that they once won a Super Bowl, but that they once loved and still did.
In the 1984 reunion, we had a great time at Fuzzy's place. And certainly we couldn't come to town and have another reunion and not stop by Fuzzy's place. And what's your favorite memory?
Well, that's when Dowler got his shoulder hurt in the first Super Bowl.
I did it for you.
Is that your favorite memory too?
Yeah, well, I was part of the story, and it's nice to be remembered.
Hold on a minute. How you doing, Mr. Kramer?
I'm doing good.
How you doing?
I'd hug most of you if I could.
Now, most folks would do that, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Dollar. Good to see you, baby. Good to see you. Brother Wood.
What's up there, Wood boy? How you doing there, my friend?
Brother Wood, good. I don't care what they say, Max McGee never stayed out.
I never came home.
Yeah, I never stayed out.
Willie Willie came to camp one year, and he had master's degree at the University of Chicago and on the dean's list, and had a wonderful educational career and a wonderful education. And he came into camp feeling good and feeling a little bit cocky, and he says, "All the girls call me the doctor." And we looked at him and we said, "Well, why do they call you the doctor?" "Because I make them feel so good."
I want you to know, Jared, I want you to know I'm married now.
Well, from that point on, it was Dr. Feelgood for me. Mr. Jeter.
Who are these defensive backs bigger than I
How you doing? Nobody bigger than you.
I know. I was told the other day, come on down, they want to take a group picture of me. What can I say?
You could have invited Horning and had an album.
Oh, boy, that's bad. That's ugly, man.
You seem to get fined and caught and lectured to as much as anybody or more than anybody on the team. And I asked you why it was that you snuck out so many times. I said, were you just trying to test the coach or the old man? And you told me you don't remember.
Well, I do remember one thing.
What? Why did you sneak out so often?
I don't remember that.
Well, what did you do when you snuck out?
Well,
you don't have to explain all that, Jim.
All I know is I had a good idea. I said, Horning, we're going to put our beds together, take off all our clothes. You know, we had these little dorm beds, and when Vince knocks on that door, we'll just put our arms around each other and see what happens when he opens the door. Well, sure enough, he not rap, right at about 5 to 11, he wanted to be there early, and he opened the door, and he turned as white as any Italian I've ever seen. And he didn't know whether to come in the room or not. But anyway, it was, we definitely got a few nights off after. Of course, Horning wanted to sleep that way every night. I'm glad Horning's not there.
Oh, you're going to be in trouble. Big trouble.
It's amazing with us how we can be apart and not see someone for months and months and months and maybe even years. And within 5 minutes, we're right back to where we were in 1967, 60, whatever. And that, I think, is unusual. And I think there's, Max mentioned the bond that grew. And I think the fact that we were all, most of the nucleus of the football team was together for all those years, most of us. And I think it's special. And I think it's, to have the love and the respect that we have for each other, I think is something that I think it's unique in football and in team sports. I mean, I think maybe we learned how to spell team a little better. I don't know, but it sure did work, and I just love it.
Now and forever, you are a part of me, and the memory cuts like a knife. Didn't we find the ecstasy? Didn't we share the daylight when you
hit anybody today, but I do want to get in the game.
Didn't we come together? Didn't we live together? Didn't we cry together? Didn't we play together? Didn't we love together? And together we lit up the world. I miss the tears. I miss the laughter. I miss the day we met and all that followed after. Sometimes I wish I could always be with you the way we used to do. Now and forever, I will always be with you.
What we had a chance to live, few can appreciate.
So many emotions, so much feeling, so many things jumbled up inside of me. It's almost impossible to tell you in a short period of time what it was like. We had probably the largest group of Lombardi Packers ever assembled. Bart Starr, Paul Hornung, Max McGee, Fuzzy, Willie, and a lot of guys that I hadn't seen for a long time, and Joe Francis, Nelson Taburin, Gary Barnes. Just a wonderful week, a wonderful time to remember. Sensational weekend. But you know the best part of it all? The Lombardi Legends charity got its start. We're in operation, we're going to do some wonderful things with the charity, and it'll be something to remember the Lombardi Legends by for a long, long time. And also, you know, I guess it proved that we did love one another and we did respect one another. We do love one another and we do respect one another. We did then, we do now, and I guess we will forever.
This video presentation was made possible by the Roundy's Corporation.
This video presentation benefiting the Vince Lombardi Titletown Legends has been made possible in part by the following partners.
Miller Lite. Want a great taste that's less filling? Then grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time. Packer Fan Tours, the official tour company of the Green Bay Packers. Johnsonville Brats, the official brats of Lambeau Field. The Forest County Potawatomi Community Foundation, the Green Bay Press Gazette, and the Appleton Post-Crescent, your local hometown newspapers covering the Packers daily. Pulse Digital Media Solutions. Imagine, create, communicate. WFRV, News Channel 5, Green Bay.
The Vince Lombardi Titletown Legends wish to extend special thanks to the City of Green Bay for their help and support.